Welcome back to the Coronavirus and Kansas Small Business Survival video series. I am Matt DeSarl. Today's guest is Kirsten Flory with Colliers International. She is a commercial real estate broker and an expert in that area. Kirsten, how are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you again.
You too.
As I've been asking every guest here on this video series, the first question being, how would you describe your business under normal circumstances?
Absolutely. So how Colliers International operates as a commercial real estate broker, we focus on commercial real estate in the form of office buildings, retail buildings, industrial buildings, and development land. Our firm does not do anything on the residential side of real estate. So as commercial real estate brokers, we work with owners of commercial real estate to either sell or lease their properties, and we work with buyers or tenants to help find them space. So business under normal circumstance, I would say every day is a little bit different. We work routinely in the office, out of the office. A lot of times, touring properties, sharing information, putting together marketing packages for the property we're listing. It's a variety of things. So that's kind of the normal, if you want to call what's going on previously.
And so how is the COVID-19 pandemic affecting that business?
Oh, that's a great question. Thankfully, our business was set up to operate remotely from day one. Technology, because of how we are situated within our business, we're remote a lot. And so we've implemented a lot of those technologies years before so we can access our database. Zoom has been fantastic to get that up and running a lot more. And it's been great to see faces of clients' interactions just to kind of gauge where they're at. How it's affected things, though, I would say having the fear mindset of just the unknown has been, a little unnerving for a lot of people. I don't have the answers as far as when it's going to end and when some businesses will be back running again. But I think a lot of it is that communicating the best of our ability with what resources are available has been key, and making sure that our clients and the business community understands that, yes, there are people in the same situation that you are. There are resources there to help you. Some of our business has been put on pause a little bit, I think, as businesses trying to determine what's the next step and where the revenue streams are going to come from. But as far as there is still demand for real estate out there, it just looks a little different.
And do you think the demand for commercial real estate in Lawrence will take a permanent dip downward now that companies are making a cultural shift to virtual workplaces?
So I don't think the demand's going to decrease. I think the demand will look different. And I think, when people think of economic downturns, which the coronavirus has also impacted what the economy is happening right now, there will always be a demand for commercial real estate. And I don't want people to think that that's not the case, but the type of real estate that is in demand is probably going to look different. But I also don't think that's a new thing. I think, over the course of 10, 15-year period, we see cycles and we see dips in our market in different sectors. And so one of the things that we always like to evaluate is what sector, whether it's retail, office, industrial, or development land, which one of those sectors is kind of the strong horse in the race right now, and which one maybe is kind of bringing up the lead. And it's actually a healthy environment to have one push ahead and somebody fall back. It allows for a market correction. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you have a sector that has been going along strong, and maybe rental rates have been slowly ticking up as inflation does, it kind of mirrors that. If improvements haven't been made in that particular sector, whether it's an infrastructure improvement, it's a cosmetic improvement, it's a technology improvement, whatever it is to enhance that sector of real estate, if that hasn't happened in a while, sometimes that sector is prime for a reset. And resets are caused by a lot of different things. Resets could be caused by a pandemic, an economic downturn. It could be caused by new types of real estate coming into the market, by new construction that is like kind, that would then force another similar type of real estate to kind of either decide, okay, do I need to improve so I can kind of be competitive? or not, or maybe I'm more of a B class type of property than A class type of property. So it's a very dynamic, interesting question when you ask that about the demand. So the short answer is there's always going to be demand. It's just going to look different.
I remember in January you gave a presentation your team did at the Lawrence Arts Center about a forecast for 2020 for commercial real estate. And you did talk about a trend in local stores, retailers needing to compete with Amazon, and workplaces going virtual. And you talked a lot about how the brand identity of these companies need to become more than a physical space. So is it fair to say that your team kind of recognized the trend, and now coronavirus is really ramping that trend up, or are there different offshoots that you're seeing of that trend right now?
I think it's all in the same. I mean, a little bit of both. Let me back up for a minute. So Colliers International, my colleagues, Allison Vance-Moore, Jay Taylor, and myself present an annual, we call it a real estate forecast, that kind of recaps the previous year and what happened in the marketplace amongst the different sectors: office, retail, industrial. We talk about vacancy rates. We talk about trends, to kind of give people an idea of what truly is happening looking back. Then we look forward, and then we do some forecasting based on the trends we're seeing in the marketplace, what our clients are telling us, what national trends are happening in the economy. And so our forecast for 2020, and this was in January, so this is before coronavirus came to be, I think we did a fairly good prediction, especially what was going to be happening to retail. And I think we all saw the writing on the wall when Amazon has been growing and growing and growing, and allowing consumers in the retail space to order more and more things online and having that automatic 2-day overnight delivery, kind of that instant gratification. But what we did found is that even though Amazon or like-kind companies are offering that type of retail experience, that is not going to deplete entirely the brick and mortar concept. And I think what we've definitely realized through the coronavirus and the stay-at-home order is that consumers still crave that interaction and that tangible, I want to touch it before I buy it. And most importantly, they want the experience of an in-store, in-office environment. So I think if anyone thinks that retail is going away completely, that is not true at all. What I do think is going to be happening in the technology space, and I'm going to use technology space a little broadly, not just offices or businesses that are creating technology or creating more technology enhancements, but more so any type of business, similar to when we talked about a few years ago, you need to get on social media. I think every single business needs to embrace technology of some sort to think about how can they survive if this happens again. Now, I hope coronavirus doesn't happen again, but I think an environment like this could happen again that is going to really make us question how do we function in a business environment, whatever sector you're in, and operate our business effectively, still make sure we're making enough revenue to meet our payroll, to pay our taxes, do all those kinds of things, and operate. And what does that look like? So I think the outcome from our forecast, as we talked about, technology is paramount. If we pull that down into a space conversation as far as how businesses use their space, the forecast showed that businesses are going to use their space differently. It might mean they need more flexible space. It might mean they need to have smaller footprints, or footprints that allow them to be collaborative, meaning they're sharing a conference room. They're sharing a back workspace. They're sharing a collaborative space or something like that. Maybe they're sharing their space with like-kind businesses, and the two businesses are operating out of one. We've seen that need happen already prior to coronavirus. And I think, it's kind of the old concept of if you go in to buy your milk, you want to buy your cheese at the same time, right? Or the bread's over here, if you think about a grocery store concept. We're going to see more and more businesses trying that collaborative approach because it's that one-stop shop. And it's that way to generate probably more revenue than you would see of just selling one item. And I'm using that in a very general sense. But I think, the forecast for 2020 is still fairly spot on it's just right. You're right. It's happening a lot faster, and unfortunately it's forcing people to make some decisions that they probably didn't want to make right away.
In addition to sort of the co-working space trend, how else are property owners improving their offerings, if at all?
Absolutely. I think at this exact moment in time, I think property owners are waiting to see what happens. I think with all of the federal stimulus and the other programs, so the SBA and the payroll protection plan programs that are just getting rolled out, just starting to get funded, I think everyone's waiting a little bit with bated breath to just see how fast that happens and what type of approvals come down the pipeline before they start making any decisions. It's too early to really predict exactly what's going to happen at the end of all this, but I think it's something they're definitely planning for. Again, I don't think anyone should be, quite honestly, spending money unwittingly to make improvements to a space or make extra investments into a business just yet. But I think also now is the perfect time, if you're a business owner, whether you own a property or you own a business that would be housed in a property, to really kind of do a deep dive and look at your finances, look at your strategy, look at your plans, and try to make a plan for what that looks like when this is all said and done. It's probably a good place to be.
Absolutely. Well said. Great advice.
You alluded to this maybe like a racehorse analogy where different sectors are sort of competing against each other for maybe market corrections. Using that analogy, which horse in Lawrence do you think is charging up towards the finish line here?
So I think when you and I spoke a little earlier, I was talking about how outside of a pandemic and just normal business circumstance over, a 10, 15 year period of time, we do see certain sectors that kind of racehorse analogy kind of, push ahead, meaning they're very, very strong. We've seen that in retail over the years. And I think just like any cyclical environment that happens in the economy, you're going to see certain types of business that kind of peak and thrive, and then they're going to have a little bit of a market correction. I don't want anybody to be afraid of market correction, because market correction actually can be a very good thing for the economy and a very good thing for our business environment. Why that's a good thing is because it allows not only property owners, but business owners to kind of go back and redefine, okay, where do I need to be? What's the market expectation? And if what I'm offering isn't meeting the demand right now, it probably won't meet the demand in the future. And I probably need to adjust myself so I'm relevant and I'm doing and performing and offering something that either keeps up with what the market demand is or not. And maybe you switch gears altogether. So one example we've seen in years past is we've seen some, for example, industrial spaces get used in different ways. I mean, industrial spaces have traditionally been used for warehousing and manufacturing. Some industrial spaces are used for, physical fitness spaces and things like that. I mean, so that's one example of how demand could change for a type of space. In the retail environment, I mean, that it could look even differently. I mean, so it's hard to say predictably exactly what that's going to look like, but sometimes those market corrections are not a bad thing.
So do you want to break any news tonight? Are there going to be any new hip co-working food courts or healthcare plazas, or are there any businesses joining up at this moment to create a new co-working space?
Gosh, I wish I could share that with you just yet, but I bet we'll see before the end of the year, and I realize we're only in April. I bet before the end of the year, we're going to have some really interesting businesses pop up and or merge and or collaborate. I still think we're early enough in the year and in the process. And I think some things have already been put into play coming out of last year that haven't yet been announced that I think will be surprising to people as far as how we can come out of this. I don't want anyone to think that the environment is going to look like just like what it was. And I think sometimes that's a hard nut to kind of, digest and really get your arms wrapped around, because I think we all love the community that we live and work in, and we don't want things to change because we like it just the way it is, right? But I think we want to continue to be relevant to thrive, and thinking about, I'm going to use the bad word here, the revenue, and really how we make money as a community and how we make money as businesses, and how that trickles down into how we feed our families and, maintain our households. We're going to have to think a little differently, and we're maybe going to have to utilize our resources a little differently.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the teaser and the sneak peek, if you will, of things to come. I'm very intrigued by what that may look like.
You mentioned that people are craving the interaction of a physical space, of a retail, whether it's a retail or restaurant or another business experience. Yeah. There is a lot of speculation out there that our culture has changed forever, that people won't want to go out after this, be in crowds, etc. Myself personally, I don't believe that. I can't wait to get out with the family and do some family fun entertainment this summer, those sorts of things. What does it look like on your end? What are you hearing from your clients? Are they expecting a big rush from the consumer confidence, snapping back up?
That's a hard question to answer. How I will answer it is that I think businesses that are able to offer experience-driven types of interactions, and that can come from all forms, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're a mom and pop store that sells shoes, whether you're an insurance provider and you have an office setting, whatever it is. I think one thing that we've learned over the past several years, especially with the infusion of social media, is making sure your brand, the brand of your business or the brand of what you're trying to communicate, is more than just a logo and is more than just a sign on a door. It is how you are reaching into the lives of your consumers and identifying with them and understanding how they need to interact with you to make sure they keep coming back and they're referring business to you and they're telling others. So it might mean that a restaurant that gets really creative on the experience that they're creating within their brick and mortar, that allows people to take that experience and take it outside of their doors to create a larger audience. And I know I'm being a little vague with that, but it might be thinking creatively about how those concepts and those experiences get taken outside, whether it's, catering, it's special events. Pop-up's been kind of a neat, fun concept we've seen test out a little bit in Lawrence. I bet we're going to see a lot more pop-ups come about, and I hope they do, because what a fantastic way to test market a new product or service or a delicacy in a way that allows a business to do it with a lot less risk. I think we see it a lot more on the coast, and I think with any kind of concept that's new and fresh, you see it come into the Midwest a little bit slower. But I think that's definitely going to be more a risk-adverse type of business entree into this market that we probably will see happen before the end of the year in a lot of different sectors.
Yeah, that's great advice. I don't think that was at all vague. I think that was great advice for any brand to really consider, and I remember you alluding to some of that in your presentation. So thank you so much for your time today. Was there anything that you did want to mention that I didn't guide with questions?
So I'll tell you what, I've been telling everyone who come across, and I know you've had some of these guests on your presentation before, but I know one of the best resources that we found to share with our clients is actually the Lawrence Chamber's website, and that's lawrencechamber.com. And I advise, whether you are looking for specific business benefits, financial relief, just resources, the Chamber's actually collaborating with a number of different organizations to host multiple Zoom calls, webinars, you name it. So I feel like that's a great one-stop shop for great resources. They do a great job of keeping, I feel like, the business community informed of what's going on. They're also a great community partner. And I know I'm wearing my chamber hat for a minute. I'm a part of the chamber board of directors. But I would say you don't have to be a chamber member to engage with the chamber. They're a business-driven organization, and they're here to help all business owners in the community. So there's my little, soapbox stick for the chamber. But Matt, thanks for having me today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And I would second what you're saying about the chamber.
How can folks get in touch with you?
Well, how they can get a hold of me, our main line at our office is 785-865-5100, and that'll direct you. We are answering our phone. It is getting rolled to our cell phones, and if you can't get a hold of one of us immediately, please leave us a voicemail. That gets emailed directly to us. I would also say, you are welcome to email me. And my name is Kirsten, Kirsten, then dot like a period, Flory at Colliers.com. I'm happy to help you with anything from, even if it's outside of real estate. Our team has a lot of resources we connect with on a regular basis, so we want to be helped too.
Okay, great. Kirsten, thank you so much. And if you are watching this and you are a small business owner in Kansas and you would like to contribute to this video series, please email me, mattydmedia@gmail.com. It's MATTY, D as in digital, media@gmail.com. Thank you for everyone for watching.